Hey, welcome back to the channel, guys. Back at doing other reaction videos. I know it's been a little while, and I was doing some like taste testing, comparison videos, unboxings, stuff like that. So it's been a little while since I've been doing, or since I've done reactions. So we are back. This time we have one called "The Netherlands is Not Perfect," which is definitely interesting. I've been watching a lot of videos on why the Netherlands is good, like the good stuff. A lot of people don't want to put videos out about why it sucks. You know what I mean? So, um, anyways, this one was suggested to me by a guy named Doom, one of the moderators actually on the channel and the Discord. So, thanks, Doom. I appreciate everything you do. Also, to the other moderators, I appreciate all you guys. But, anyways, back to what we're doing here. It's called The Netherlands is Not Perfect, and it's by the channel Hoog. So, make sure you go check them out. I will have the links to the original video and everything in the description section down below. And I apologize for my lighting. I don't have everything in sync here yet. This is just like a little temporary studio kind of setup or whatever here in the camper. But anyways, doing the best I can with what I got. So I'll get my camera or my lighting and stuff figured out at some point again. But anyways, let's jump into it and find out the stuff that's not perfect about the Netherlands. Um, Hit like and subscribe while you're at it, guys. That'd be amazing. I would super appreciate it.
As utopia, great infrastructure.
Whoops.
The Netherlands is a small country seen as utopia. Great infrastructure, unparalleled government graphic design, and an immense amount of economic and engineering power concentrated in a small, well-managed piece of land. But the Netherlands is not a perfect country. It's currently facing one of the worst housing crises in the world. Its governing parties aren't really trusted after falsely charging thousands of parents with abusing child benefits. A country that is expected to manage well, but managed Corona just pretty badly. One that's known for being egalitarian, but is seeing increasing inequality. And it's a country that many feel lacks an adequate vision in a world that requires direction. Sure, it can compromise on some nice things, but it can act quickly on few. The Netherlands is not perfect, and fortunately for you, a random college student in a basement has managed to figure out exactly what's wrong with it. I have all the answers. See, the Dutch personality is a blend between priest.
So I guess he's the random college student living in a basement that figured it out. He's like, wait a minute, all these videos, they're saying the Netherlands is so perfect. They're like, there's got to be something that they're not showing. Which again, there's not going to be a perfect country no matter where you are. Some are going to be better than others, clearly, obviously. But everybody's vision of perfect is going to be different, anyways, right? One person's perfect country might be the Netherlands. Another person's perfect country could be Sweden or America, Brazil, who knows, right? So, yeah, this is going to be an interesting. If you want to make your own priority suggestion, there is links down below for that, or just overall general channel support in general. I have links for that, links to the Discord server, links to the website, ItsCharlieVest.com, where you can get yourself like a custom, or not custom, but like designed by me, I guess, like t-shirt or like coffee mug or something. You know what I mean? Hit like and subscribe while you're down there.
Between priest and merchant, and also an angry old man. Blend between priest and merchant, and also an angry old man. On the one hand, an undeniable feeling of original sin. The Dutch must avoid arrogance and vanity at all costs, or you risk the danger of standing out from the crowd. Normalcy is not boring, it's encouraged. On the other hand, you have the merchant, a deep pragmatism and efficient work ethic, little waste and a deep focus on function, with a frugality that produces thick wallets.
Het is heel klein, maar ik heb wel de uitkijk op dit klein meer. So, I'm trying to learn Dutch. I have a channel for that called Charlie Learns Dutch. I'm doing it on Duolingo. So head is heel klein. So something is small. Klein is small. But I have something with, I think is what dit is, with Usik of decline, so something else is small. I understand part of those words, but not enough to understand. So mar is but, so but I have, I think, I don't know. Let me see here. Or no, that's not gonna, yeah, because that's not an original subtitle. I got an app that translates stuff to English, but
Forget ordering in mashed potatoes with carrots is more than sufficient. But between them is also that angry old man that voices their concerns, nitpicks, and complains about everything in a bluntness that has become accepted because that's just how they are.
No.
And it's that blend of characters that helps us understand where the Netherlands' strengths begin, but where its biggest weaknesses lie. In the Gulders River area are two districts, Bommelerwaard and Overbetuwe. In the 16 and 1700s, both faced the risk of severe flooding. So they did what the Dutch do best, build dikes. But the two
Right.
districts were not the same. Overbetuwe had larger farms and more extensive estates. It was more unequal than Bommelerwaard, where a large portion of farmers worked smaller plots that they owned directly. In some Bommelerwaard villages, less than 40% of the land belonged to the nobility and institutions, but in Overbetuwe, it was more than 70. The two districts had different societies, with different levels of inequality. But still, there was something that united them, a desire not to be killed by water. The Netherlands lies on the north.
I mean, that's a pretty good good common ground. Like, let's work together so we don't get killed by water. I mean, I'm on board with it.
North Sea, where dangerous water is a fact of life. The land was first populated by the Fries, modern-day Frisians, called watermen by the Romans, who built their homes on terpen, primitive mounds of easily manipulable clay and peat that would protect them.
Yeah, actually, Friesland, I believe, used to include like what's modern day called Groningen, I believe, right? And then also up into like the Germany area, which is now like East Friesland or Old Friesland. I don't remember for sure which one, but yeah. So I'm pretty sure it had that like the entire stretch through there, and maybe possibly even into like southern like Denmark, if I'm not mistaken. And then of course things break apart and borders change over the years and whatnot.
From storm surges, them from mounds of easily manipulable clay and peat that would protect them from storm surges. But the water mud men were an innovative and restless bunch. Terrapin
Water mud
combined,
men.
which made room for larger villages. They constructed smaller dikes to protect crops, then entire seawalls, along with emergency dikes, gooien, sluisgates, and the one and only polder. The polder is one of the most recognizable features of the Netherlands. Build a wall around water and use a pumping system to pump water out. Dutch people manipulate water. It's a story most know. But what we forget is the reverse direction of the relationship. How water changed who the Dutch are themselves. Building dikes isn't easy, but building the institutions that regulate that water management is harder. Dikes are the difference between life and death, and a single person cannot maintain a system of dikes on their own. So dikes gave birth to dike solidarity. Entire communities, be you rich or poor, farmer or urbanite, Protestant or Catholic, were tasked with relying on each other for dike maintenance. If the dike went down, you'd all drown. Communities established water boards where everyone could voice and deliberate about water management, and a culture of open discussion, nitpicking, and consensus had to develop. Farmers needed to know if their neighbors were holding up their side of the bargain, and if someone was an adventurous type who wanted to expand the land and change something about it, it'd be very possible that they could produce disastrous consequences for another. So consensus for large-scale decisions became even more important. Not being normal was a liability. And that brings us back to Bommelerwaard and Overbetuwe. They were different in their levels of inequality, but in the more unequal Overbetuwe, craftsmen who worked on the land sat on the same waterboard as those who owned the land they worked on. In Bommelerwaard, nearly 50% of households held positions on the village council tasked with managing water at some point in their lives. And in Overbetuwe, it was the same. The looming danger of water gave room for political equality when economic inequality did not. Irrespective of property or social class, hundreds of years ago, the Dutch afforded large sections of its population a right to nitpick and endlessly discuss how water would be managed. The precursor for the Dutch system of pragmatic agreement and consensus that exists to this day. The Polder Model, a system of consensus politics that is like no other on Earth. Coalition governments are governments where a single party is not able to secure a majority of seats, and to pass legislation, they need to form a coalition with others to end up with a majority. After an election, the Dutch parliament, the Tweede Kamer, will appoint a verkenner that investigates potential combinations of parties that can form a coalition. When a potential combination is found, a new person, the informateur, will be appointed to guide the negotiations between those parties. The informateur, together with the coalition parties, will begin drafting a coalition agreement, which will then steer government policy for the years that coalition is in power. Now, a similar process is practiced by others, sure, but Dutch coalition agreements are among the most elaborate. Not only are they able to secure some of the most precisely defined deals that exist, but the Dutch take coalition deals more seriously than most. This graph shows the time it takes to form a political coalition in Europe, and the Netherlands stands out on top. Now, you have Belgium sometimes, but Belgium is Belgium. But Dutch coalition time...
So they're saying it takes longer... Are they saying it takes longer to get anything done? Is that... I believe that's what they're trying to say. So I wonder what the length of... So is it like a minimum of this amount to a minimum of that amount? Because then... Well, no, because this one's broken up. Oh, okay, there's a small section here too. I wonder why it's in fragments like that, because there's another one up here too. It's interesting.
But Dutch coalition times are not a good thing. An agreement in the end, sure, but it also reflects a system that isn't perfect. One where it has become even more difficult to form coalitions and produce policy, and one that isn't getting any better. The Netherlands used to be led by a big three, VVD, CDA, and PvdA, the merchant, priest, and old angry man, respectively. Although they were criticized for party dominance, the push and pull between all three provided stability for the coalition governments. A loss of one would be made up by the other two in the next. Although they still market each other as parasites, they're actually pretty codependent on each other. But the big three have declined, and in its place the number of parties has gone into overdrive. With 150 seats, the Tweede Kamer has 16 political parties. That's a lot for a small country. It's caused in part by the country being essentially one gigantic district with proportional voting. All 150 seats will be distributed across all the votes. But what makes the Dutch system uniquely prone to producing more parties is that it also has one of the lowest thresholds to enter parliament that exists, 0.67%, the equivalent of one seat, one of the purest examples of trying to give everyone a seat at the table. In Germany, if you don't get around 5% of the vote, you're not getting access to the Bundestag either. And these new smaller parties, although they may be derivative of another, still need to set themselves apart. You end up with parties like 50PLUS, a party for the elderly, and also a party for the animals, one of the first of its kind. Volt fragments the left liberal D66 because it gives Dutch university students with the personality of a root vegetable more character by letting them find all of their meaning in European integration.
So I get it, right? I mean, maybe I don't get it, but I think like this, so they lower the threshold to make it more acceptable or more accessible, right? For people to be able to be a party or whatever. But because of that, there's so many of them that it's chaotic, I think. I don't know. Let me know down below if I'm correct on that or not. And also, these animations, right? I like these animations. What do you think about them?
And altogether, the fragmentation of parties into smaller ones makes it more difficult to form coalitions, the consensus needed to guide the country. The Boulder model is no longer an advantage, it's a penalty. This graph shows the number of parliamentarians relative to population. In stubborn country she is, the Netherlands likes to stand apart. It's a small country, but it has even smaller numbers of people to represent the population on the national level. A large party, although at risk of dominating and being boring, can breed specialization of members in the Tweede Kamer and better control the governing cabinet if they're in the opposition. It's not easy to have experts on financial, education, foreign, and green energy policy with only 1 or 2 people, unless they're YouTubers, of course, who are experts on everything. Add on the problem that there aren't enough support staff for parliamentarians to make up for the lack of members in the Tweede Kamer, and you end up with one of the largest issues for the Netherlands. No longer the dry, effective, pragmatic chamber it once was, it's instead seen a steep rise in moties, literally just official political statements. Instead of experienced, dry consensus builders, you get politicians that fling easy, dramatic political rhetoric. Dutch parliamentarians spend more time signaling what they believe in, rather than getting laws passed that actually achieve it.
You know, I'm not gonna lie though, I don't know like a lot about politics in general, so I try to stay out of politics. I mean, I try to keep up with what's going on to an extent, but I really don't obsess over it like people do. I'm not a hyper political person by any means. So, you know, I don't even hardly halfway know how the politics in the United States work in the government offices. You know what I mean? So I can't really say a whole lot here. But I'm trying to follow along and learn as much as I can. You know what I mean?
A rise in empty marketing politics and a system that isn't built for it. Maybe it's an experience thing. Politicians just need time to gain more experience so they can produce effective legislation instead of crafting viral tweets. But instead, the Netherlands has seen a historic rise in politician turnover. Politicians leave the Tweede Kamer faster than they have before. So what you get is more parties, less experienced legislators, which means less experienced coalition builders, and then you hand them an especially thick set of problems that they need to solve, be it housing, corona, or an influx of refugees. But if it
I mean, yeah, I guess I could see how that could be an issue.
can't handle those problems, what you get is a historic rise in distrust. The strong consensus, pragmatic nature of the Netherlands works well when the priest, merchant, and angry old man work together, but it struggles when they compete for top of the heap. Too much of the old angry man led to a housing crisis. Constant critical nitpicking has a knack of being easier than actually building, and today the Netherlands is blessed with one of the least elastic housing supplies that exists in the world. Too much of the priest meant a corona crisis where no person felt arrogant enough to take the lead, even when the speed of a decision was a question between life and death. And too much of the merchant meant that when Europe cried for fiscal solidarity, the Dutch just said no. Like a cheese sandwich every day for lunch, another example of Dutch frugality taken to such an extreme that it's embarrassing. So a priest, merchant, and old man walk into a boulder, and they start to complain. The merchant says, "We saved up a bunch of money by never cooking anything remotely delicious, so we can build something. We should probably build something." So the priest nervously replies, "Why? Why should I build something? You have to be pretty arrogant to suggest that you can build something." But then the old angry man interrupts, because he feels like he's not being heard. "Well, if something's going to be built, we better be in agreement and get it right, because I don't want to build anything I don't agree with, and I want to make sure that this tiny irrelevant detail is met before I start doing anything." And so, they begin to argue, as they have for hundreds of years. But what has made the Netherlands special is that if they can temper those differences in order to produce a result, that result can often be better than the three give credit to. Almost a year ago, I signed up for a streaming service to watch only one video, and that's this one, made by Neo. A single person behind a computer has produced one of the best videos
The rest of the
I've seen
video.
on the attack. He covered
Yeah, so that basically, that sums it up. That sounds like me and my brother arguing, though, honestly. We nitpick over little things, and he doesn't see eye to eye with me, and I don't see eye to eye with him on little stuff. He'll ask for my advice about something, because I have more experience with it, and I'll give him my advice, and then he'll just be like, "Oh, no, it'll be all right," and then he'll do it his way anyways, so. that's how that goes. But anyways, that was that. Thanks, Doom, for the priority request. If you guys want to make one yourself, like I said, the link's down below for that. And I'll catch you in the next video. In the meantime, you guys have a super fun, awesome day. All right, take care.